was a great night. MSG was rocking, hanging with Mike Kutry. We had a fantastic time last night at MSG. I will tell you this, UConn packs the house. Whenever UConn is playing at MSG, the fans are there, they are loud, and they let you know about it. North Carolina well represented as well. That first game, not as much with FAU and Illinois, but I enjoyed the experience. Hung with Mike, of course, had a great time. Two things I took away. Number one, the Florida Atlantic defense is non-existent. Last year, they had a tremendous defensive presence, both inside the arc and at the arc. Does not exist. They're playing Ole defense. They are acting very arrogantly. They are acting Florida Atlantic like we can outscore you. We have the swag. They're not stopping anyone. They allowed Marcus Dumbass to come in and look like a phenomenal pull-up jump shooter, which he is not. He is a solid player. He's not a great player, and they couldn't stop Terrence Shannon's drive. That's number one. On the other side, I am telling you this, I'm going to continue to fade North Carolina in big spots. Unless it's the right matchup, I am going to fade them because Hubert Davis does not make adjustments. He's playing a UConn team where Klingon was limited. Caravan had a hurt finger, wasn't hot early, and they still could not get it done. So those are my two takeaways from last night. Great time at MSG, but you know why you're here today, folks. We're going to keep rolling here. We're going to keep momentum. Yesterday was a pretty good day overall. We got the Boston College cover. We got the Tennessee cover. We got the level 10 play with Loyola Chicago, who we faded at Tulsa. So good overall. Couple one I'm upset about. Number one, certainly upset about the Michigan State game because had I known they were going to make those lineup changes, had I known Malik Hall was going to the bench, he wasn't feeling well, that's an automatic slam on Wisconsin because Michigan State right now is a Jenga puzzle. If they're at full strength, they can be great, and if they're not, they can really struggle. So that was the big one there. A couple others didn't go our way, but overall looking good. Let's get to the picks today and see how we're going to do. First, let's see the comments here. Yeah, the UNC UConn under. Yeah, it's just tricky. It's tricky there with UNC UConn. Sometimes, with our models, we hit it right on the head. It's going to be a slower pace. That could absolutely happen as well. Good afternoon, everyone. Good to see you, William. Pick today is Memphis. We'll get to that, William, in a minute because that is my pick as well. And Trevor, Illinois, 18-20 from the foul line. Vlad had trouble all game. Yeah, Illinois, the deal is this, though. They're going to shoot the free throws better, Trevor. That's my only problem is I actually went to the press conference with Kutry after the game, and I asked him about that. And I said, look, you were 18-20. He says, beats me. He goes, we practice them, and we're, eventually we just feel we're going to make them, and they did. So to them, congratulations. Good win for them. They look good. Curious how they're going to do against Tennessee. Here we go, folks. Let's get to the games. I'm taking Marquette. I put this in Discord already. I took it 7.5 last night. I'm taking it at 8.5 here. I think they slam Texas. This is a Texas team without Dylan Dessou. This is a Texas team that has not been tested already this year. They beat Louisville by 1. Louisville by 1 at the Garden this year. Then they turn around. They played Connecticut. And if you look at the final score, it looks close. The problem is they were getting buried from the start. This is Marquette. It's their first true road game this year with Texas. I like Marquette at home. They had this spot circled. They're coming off a loss, and they played a much, much tougher schedule. Strength of schedule, non-conference for Marquette so far, 7. For Texas, 258th. Efton Reed is eligible for this game, and Rutgers' offense is atrocious, absolutely atrocious. Now, they can be tough in these spots as a tough defensive team, but Wake Forest is a hard place to play, and their offense has been up and down the floor with Steve Forbes. He's done a very good job, and they really do push the pace, and they're very tough at home, Wake Forest. So I am taking Wake Forest here minus the 3.5. Rutgers really struggled on offense. They just had the game. Illinois talked about it last night, Underwood, how they went down to Rutgers, and they won, which was a big win for them. Rutgers, it looks abysmal. And if you look at Rutgers right now, they are shooting 46% from inside the arc. They're shooting 64% from the free throw line. And you know what I told you. If you are going to cover games on the road and you're a poor free throw shooting team, good luck. Last night was a neutral site. Now you're playing at Wake Forest. I don't like this matchup for Rutgers at all. Wake Forest makes their free throws, good on offense. They got off to a slow start. They're 4-3 this year. They lost away at Georgia by 3. They lost to a tough Utah team, but they went to overtime against LSU in a neutral. They beat Florida at home by 11, who's a better team than Rutgers. Charleston Southern, they beat by 15 comfortably. A good Townsend team, who we'll get to in a little bit. I like Wake Forest in this matchup, minus 3.5. Stony Brook minus 10.5 against Stonehill. I've noticed over the years that Stony Brook is very good at home. They have an explosive offense, and they'll get up and down the floor, and they'll score. 10 is an awful lot here, which means a lot of people are going to go to Stonehill. But this is back-to-back losses to Yale and Wagner. Now they are at home. They lost to Wagner at home. Now here comes Stonehill. The problem with Stonehill is they are abysmal on defense. They allow teams to shoot 40, 40% from three-point range. They allow teams to shoot 58% from inside the arc, and they do not block anyone. There was no resistance. So I think Stony Brook returning home, where they're normally good. They are beat Ryder at home by 7, who's a better team than Stonehill. I think they get the job done. It's a lot of points, so people are going to take Stonehill. I will take Stony Brook and lay the points. Rivalry game, classic. I'm not taking teams on the road when we talk about that unless it's a rivalry game. And I am going here with Fairfield. Fairfield playing within the state here in a matchup against Yale. Yale has been good. The Ivies have been really solid, but there's no reason why Yale can't win this game by 12 or win this game by 10. I think 17 is an awful lot. Not that Fairfield has really been impressive. Their free throw shooting is good, and they're terrible on the boards. But you have a Yale team here who's coming off the loss to Vermont, which was one away, which was a terrible loss. So do I think they get the win? Yes. But they beat Yale lost to Rhode Island away by 4. They beat Stony Brook at home by 8. They beat Gardner Webb on a neutral by 1. They normally don't blow teams out. They blew Colgate out. They shot very well in that game, but that was pretty much it. So I don't think they're winning by 20 in this matchup. I think 17 is a lot for Fairfield. I think Fairfield keeps it close. Now, can we take it easy with Gardner Webb being a massive favorite? I like Gardner Webb. Get up and down the floor, athletic. They're going to turn you over. I get it. It's just I think Gardner Webb is going a little bit in the other direction here, where they're a little bit overrated against a Wofford team that has quietly come around and started to play a little bit better. They won away at Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee is a very tough place to play, and they won there going to overtime. Prior to that, close game to Lipscomb on neutral, they lost. Prior to that, against my UNC Asheville team that I like, the Bulldogs. So now we have Gardner Webb. And listen, I get it, but Gardner Webb is good. They don't give a lot of turnovers, but they don't force a lot of turnovers either. They get up and down. They're only shooting 30%, 20% range, only 45% from two-point range, and they only make 64% of their free throws. This is still a disciplined Wofford team. You know, they're going to run good offense. I just think 7.5 is too much. I will take the 7.5 with Wofford at Gardner Webb. Memphis minus 2.5 against VCU. We go back to the comments that we had before. I do agree with you in this takes. William came in and told us he likes Memphis. I like Memphis as well. Memphis has impressed me. I've not always been on Memphis. Sometimes I bash Penny Hardaway on the show, but I like this Memphis squad this year, and I think they have it together after losing in the first round to FAU. Could have been them that went on that Final Four run last year if they got out of that first game. They play at the 15th fastest pace. Their interior defense is tremendous. It's top 20. Now they're playing a VCU team that, again, is still adjusting in their first year under Ryan Odom, trying to find a style. They've lost 3 of the last 4. They lost to Norfolk State at home. They lost on a neutral to Boise. They lost to Iowa State. No shame there. I don't think VCU is winning this game. I do think they're going to play well. I think they're home. I think it's going to be close. I think Memphis probably losing at the half. But I think Memphis gets the job done here and gets this win, which they really need after coming off consecutive losses to Villanova and Mississippi. They go to Texas A&M. Is that a look-ahead spot? Not really necessarily. Haven't started conference play here for a while. So I'm going with Memphis minus the 2.5. It was at 1. It's now up to 2.5. I'm still fine with it there. I'm going to keep fading Fordham. Could be wrong about Fordham here. I just think that sometimes their offense can get a little helter-skelter, and I think they can struggle. Fordham's been up and down this year. They're 4-4. How'd they do? Wagner, overtime, they won, but they went to overtime. They didn't cover. Cornell, home, they lost. We got that one. Norfolk State on a neutral, they won by 13. Okay, fine. Abilene Christian on a neutral, lost, didn't cover. Kent State, neutral, lost, didn't cover. Manhattan exploded, played well at home. Fairleigh exploded, play well at home. Tulane, I actually took them, lost. They're too inconsistent. Don't like Keith Ergo as a coach. NJIT, going to be ready. Good backcourt for NJIT. Can make some shots, can control the pace. Let's get a 12-point loss. 18.5, a little too much. Sienna at home is very good. Bryant is still adjusting. Bryant also living off that win over Florida Atlantic, which I see last night, watch it with Mike, how they did it. They must have just been able to score because Florida Atlantic didn't, and they shot poorly. If Florida Atlantic shoots threes poorly, they're very vulnerable. Now you have Bryant, who did beat Brown away 69-66, but they're doing their second consecutive road game up at Sienna. Sienna coming off a brutal loss to Mount St. Mary's by 32. But Carm Massarello is a fantastic coach. He gets things right. This team is not playing well, but 8 points at home in Sienna is something I'm always going to look at because he is a great strategist and finds a way to keep these games close. He's also been down big and is coming roaring back here. I like Sienna. I think they keep it close tonight. I will take the 8 points. I've watched this UMass team a lot. You know, I have family up in Amherst. They can score and they play defense, but my concern here is on the road. I am not sure if I'm ready to have UMass on the road as a favorite and lay those points. UMass this year has not played a true road game, and now they're playing Towson, a good Towson team. a Towson team that played on a neutral against Houston, a Towson team that played against a good North Texas team, so they've seen pressure defense, a Towson team that played on a neutral against Wake Forest. They also had a true road game at Colorado. They are battle tested. Here comes UMass. UMass can score, but they are not great from the free throw line. 59.8%. So here's another example of a team going on the road that can't make free throws. They're not great from three-point range either. Towson is going to do some things here. 2.5. You want to go money line? I will take Towson plus 2.5. I think St. John's absolutely blitzed Sacred Heart. I am off of Sacred Heart. I liked Anthony Latina's team, but they've disappointed me way too much. St. John's gets better as the year goes on. Rick Pitino has a Hall of Fame career built on them getting better. So in this situation, you have St. John's hosting. They have gotten hot. They beat Utah, which is a good Utah team. Holy Cross, West Virginia they covered. Now they have this game. The next game is against Boston College. We know that's not a look ahead. Sacred Heart, on the other hand, goes with these 5-in, 5-out mass substitutions. It's just not working, Anthony, and you better get it right before you get into the conference season, because they are the favorite to win the Northeast Conference this year, and not the way they're playing right now are they going to be able to do it. St. Joe's away, lost. New Hampshire home, lost. BU home, lost by 21. They are not playing well. They want to run. They want to pressure. This is not the matchup for them. Yes, the line's a little high. It's getting up there. Could they possibly win by 21 or 20? Sure, but I'm laying it. I like St. John's here at home, minus 22. Couple games left. Brown plus 3.5 against Rhode Island. I got it last night at 5.5. There is not great offense on Rhode Island. They are struggling. You know, Archie Miller, what he does with the team is they're going to rebound. They're going to be physical, but their offense can really struggle. They are just shooting 58% from the free throw line, 52% from inside the arc, and they do not force turnovers. Brown and the Ivy League teams are always live when they're an underdog, and they're an underdog here in a rivalry game against Rhode Island, a team that has struggled this year. Lost to Providence. Rhode Island got the doors blown off, 84-69. They tried to keep it close for a while, so that's a lot in back-to-back games. First they played Yale, then they played Providence. Now into the game against Brown. This Brown team can be a little tricky here. They're great on the defensive boards, as the Ivy Leagues usually are, one and done. I'll take it at 3.5. I like it better 5.5, but I'll take a 3.5. Next, South Carolina plus 8.5 at Clemson. This is a big game for Lamont Paris in South Carolina. This South Carolina team is undefeated. So my question is, are they good enough to go in here to Clemson and keep this game close? And I'm going to pay to find out with the 8.5. They played a very slow pace. They're shooting 40.2% from three-point range. They are 7-0, but they haven't beaten the greatest teams. They do have some interesting wins, though. Grand Canyon in a semi away. Notre Dame is a solid win at home. G-Dub, they put up 89 points. So the South Carolina team can score. Rivalry game, 8.5 on the road. You have a Clemson team that is coming off. They are 7-0, a big win away against Pittsburgh. That was the first conference win. They have TCU and Memphis coming up. Maybe a look-ahead spot here against South Carolina. I will take the Gamecocks plus 8.5. DePaul is catastrophically bad. They blew that big. They were leading big against Iowa State, and they blew that game. Now you're coming here against a Texas A&M team who I like a lot. They're not great on offense, Texas A&M. They can certainly struggle. They're shooting 27% from three-point range, but they're great on the offensive boards. DePaul is soft. Coming off a loss to Virginia away, I expect this Texas A&M team to roll DePaul. DePaul 1-6 on the air, the only win at home against South Dakota. First away game for DePaul team is terrible. That is not a good equation for a win. And the last one here before I get to your questions, Minnesota plus 2.5 versus Nebraska. Classic conference road game for Minnesota. I was impressed how they came back against Ohio State. They were buried early, but they actually came back and played well at home. They've had some nice wins this year. They played Missouri at home and only lost by 2. Usually Minnesota at home in Minneapolis plays very, very well. And tonight they're hosting. They lost their first game to Ohio State. They don't want to fall 0-2 because if they fall 0-2, then they're going to have to wait a month until they play Michigan away. So early in the season, you see teams and conferences, even those that you don't think are so good, give their best effort. Are we sure that Nebraska, who is 7-1 and coming off a home loss destruction to Creighton, is just going to come up here and roll Minnesota? I don't think so. And they have Michigan State and Kansas State on the horizon. So I will take the points here with Minnesota on the road at home, getting 2.5. Let's get to the comments here. Any chance on the West Virginia spread? We know we've been loading much of the season. Yeah, I've been fading them much of the season, but I actually like them in this spot. I don't like Pittsburgh here, guys. So, Niall, I am going with West Virginia, getting the points at home. I think they will play well. I don't like Jeff Capel. So even though I have faded West Virginia for most of the year, I think they can easily win this game. And I believe it's 4.5. I will take West Virginia and the points there as well. Over under 2 martinis tonight, George. Well, I had a great time with Kutri last night. 1 was the answer last night, but tonight 2, I don't know. It's Survivor. My family likes Survivor. Maybe I'll have an extra one here. Let's see what we got. GGX was plus. Yeah, he was taking a lot of the shots, Trevor. That's what it is. But they really have good cohesion as well. Dom, I have no read on Belmont today. Sorry, buddy. I just don't have a read. I wasn't sure where I was going to go there. I took a look at it. Not sure at all. Barn gets rocking too. Yeah, Barn gets rocking. Good home court advantage as well. I like that, and you appreciate the Viz Nile as well. Guys, update in the future. We are going to start having guests. I have one lined up for next week as well. We're going to start bringing Frank Brank. We'll try to get Kutri, everybody aboard here so that you have somebody else giving you breakdowns here. We're going to try to expand the show, bring people in, different opinions, different thoughts, all because of you guys. You are the subscribers here at FTN. You call the shots. Thank you as always, guys. Let's get to the window. Let's get a couple of units going here and start some positive momentum as we head 100 days, a little over 100 days to March Madness, folks. I'm Randle Rant on X, FTN. Let's get some cash.